little self and cross promotion this morning. If you can't get enough Bobby C doing sports, I have a new podcast. Joining us as co-host of said podcast, Edgar Burgos. Ed, good morning. How are you?
What's up, man? Bobby, how you feel?
I'm feeling good, man. Excited about our new podcast. And I guess the biggest reason for having you on the show, besides talking some sports this morning, would be why should our peoples in the BX tune in to Step in the Arena, besides the fact that, like Tom Brady and LeBron James, I'm still as great as ever in this game, late into the game of sports broadcasting.
You never know who's going to come on to Step into the Arena. We've 3 shows in. You know, we've spoken with Baron Davis. We've spoken with Roger Mason. Who else? We got Mike James coming on. Jerome Junkyard Dog. Frank Isola. You know, we've had, in 3 shows, we've had a great guest, and we have more great guests coming, and it's organic. And that's what I like about our show is like, you never know what these guys are going to say. We never know what Bobby C is going to say. And it's fun.
Absolutely. And Ed, I know a lot of people probably do know your background, but for those that don't, you worked for the New York Knicks for a long time, a former producer with places like NBA TV, and now your own company, Hard to Guard. Do you still enjoy nabbing all of these big names for our podcast and putting together quality creative content?
I love it. It's a way to have like conversation, especially, through a podcast or virtual or whatever. And we could kind of keep up with like what some of the guys are doing, besides basketball, and, letting the, fans or whoever's watching know, like, about the relationships that you and I have gained over the years. And for me, it's always fun. Like when I talk to the guys, like, hey, can you do the show? And usually most of the time they say, yeah. Or like if they can't do it that night, they'll make sure that they'll work their schedule around it to come on eventually.
So as you mentioned, a few weeks in, we've had some awesome guests like former NBA players Baron Davis and Jerome Williams and Roger Mason Jr., top flight commentators like Frank Isola and Jared Greenberg. Here's a clip with Frank Isola breaking down the last time the Knicks probably had their best chance to win an NBA title.
They had gone out and they had made all those big moves. They had gotten Larry Johnson in a trade with Anthony Mason. They signed Allen Houston and they signed Chris Childs. It was a great mix of young players, old players. They were deep. That they went. Jeff was only going to play about 8 or 9 guys, but they had a solid 8 or 9. And if you remember, they closed out the regular season on a winning streak. I believe they might have won their last 3 games of the regular season. Then they sweep Charlotte in the first round. Back then it was best 3 out of 5. So that's a 6-game winning streak. Then they beat Miami in the first game. So they were on a 7-game winning streak going into that game 2. They didn't play well in game 2 in Miami. Then they come back home, obviously. And then we all know what happened with the fight in game 5, which changed everything. It's really an awful moment. It's funny, I'm doing this book with Charles Oakley, and I go back and look at some of these fights that have happened over the years. Like the thing that Kurt Rambis did, that Kevin McHale did to Kurt Rambis, they didn't even get ejected from the game.
Yeah, I know.
Here we have like Patrick Ewing is hovering 20 feet from a melee, kind of looking around to see what's going on. He got suspended for a game. To me, that was their best chance because, as you guys know, the final night of the season, they beat Chicago in Chicago. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen played. I know that's crazy nowadays, like for 2-star players to play in the final game of what would necessarily be a meaningless game. But I agree with you guys. I think that 96-97 team, they should have played Chicago in the conference finals. Now, I know there's a lot of Knicks fans that listen. I still believe, because I'm a big Michael Jordan guy, I felt like Michael Jordan would find a way to win 4 games. It's hard to beat Michael Jordan 4 times in the 90s, as everybody found out.
So, Ed, do you think the Knicks will ever win a championship in your lifetime?
In my lifetime? Oh, man, I think it's going to be hard, man. I like, honestly, it's weird because this year is like, Thibodeau hasn't gone in the right direction, and I'm a big fan of Wes, and I'm a big fan of Leon. I think that they're solid guys, and they know basketball, and they're surrounding themselves with good basketball guys. You have to make a couple of moves here and there. I mean, we'll see what 5 years, 10 years down the road, possible. And I also like the fact that, they do have a couple of first-round picks in the next couple of years along with Dallas. And if Dallas keeps losing, we own their unprotected pick this year. So that we might have 2 lottery picks this year. So you never know.
would be great to see them win a championship sometime in both of our lifetimes. No doubt about that.
For me, I'm blessed to at least see the finals in my lifetime. When the '99 Knicks, I was there, and obviously me and you have talked about it plenty of times. That '97 team, that was the team that was going to win the championship. Totally. I'm so upset because at least me personally, I'd be selfish. I would have a ring, and nobody would ever be able to tell me anything.
On the show, we've also hit some more serious topics like a reflection on Kobe Bryant's passing 1 year later, and of course, some tragic news more recently with the passing of popular journalist Sekou Smith, a friend of Ed's and of Jared's. So here's more on Sekou Smith.
It's weird. This is a weird business, you guys. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Whether it's talking about basketball or whether it's talking about the media, it's really hard to find somebody who everybody likes. And I'm not one to blow smoke, but in this universe that the three of us live in here, Sekou's a rare breed. Like, there's not a person you will meet who will talk trash or say a bad word about him. That's unusual in this business. I know whenever my time comes, there's going to be plenty of people who are like, that guy was a jerk. I get it. I totally get it. This guy went out of his way to mentor so many people. He went out of his way to be just a good guy. And I joke, like, he was like this angry guy. Like, he was like a curmudgeon a little bit, where he was grumpy. But while he was grumpy, he had this smile on his face and he was laughing about it. And it was so, like, infectious. And he just wanted to do his job, and he loved his family. And for those of you who don't know, I worked with him about, 3-4 weeks ago on a Friday night. And then like 3 days later, we found out he had got COVID. I don't know how he got COVID. I don't know what the deal was, but he was supposed to be okay. I was texting with him. He's fine. And then all of a sudden he's on a ventilator and he's in a coma. And then we get a text that he's supposed to be okay. Like, he's going to be fine. And then I got a call Tuesday that he was gone. Like, it still doesn't feel real to me. It still feels like an outer body experience where, like, I don't understand how this works. And I'm bothered by it, but like, we're going to miss Sekou. Like, we need more people like him.
Ed, a real intense interview there with Jared Greenberg. I know that Sekou was a dear friend of yours. A really great interview on the podcast.
Yeah, I would say, I know Sekou not as well as, Jared and the guys at NBA TV. We've crossed paths, but a gentleman. That's all I can say. A gentleman, and my condolences go out to his family, his kids, and his wife. But he leaves a legacy, and we just got to do our job to make sure that his name stays alive forever.
For you, what has been the most challenging part of all of this, in addition to, I know we've talked about it, losing so many dear friends to COVID-19?
It's weird, man. Like, I say my prayers every morning, and I'm just like, I'm happy to be alive. I say my prayers for my friends and their family. Just being home is tough. After a while, you want to get out, but my thing is, like, I just want to, eventually, hopefully things open up eventually. But, obviously we want to make sure people wear your mask, listen to what they have to say so we can get out of this situation.
And I definitely want to give you a shout for booking the guests, because I book enough guests for BronxNet, and also have to give a huge shout to our other producer, Randy J. Cruz, who's done an amazing job with all the tech stuff and the producing and making it happen for us.
Nah, Randy, shout out to Randy. He's like me and you talked, prior. He's a basketball junkie. And he loves what he does, and he's helping us, fulfill what we want to do. And in the background, he's doing a great job. So shout out to Randy. Step
in the Arena is live on Thursday nights at 10 p.m. on Twitter, Randy J. Cruz. You can also catch it on YouTube or like and download at SoundCloud, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Edgar Burgos, thanks so much for taking some time. I'll see you on the podcast.
Bobby C, see you tonight.